Hello, and welcome to the Big Glasgow Comic Con podcast. BGCP if you're nasty. You're nasty. I'm your host, Ben. You might remember me from other episodes sometimes. Why am I hosting? I don't know. Here we are. It's going to be fun. We're all new to this in some way. Speaking of new, first off, my guest, we've got Jerd, the nerd. How are you, Jerd? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, man?
Grant?
Oh, you just asked me that. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
We're just like,
Yeah.
I'm in Dublin, so I'm guessing you're both Scots.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to pass it on to
Yeah.
our other guest.
What you guys won't see right now is a beautiful array of posters that Jerd has. He has a big Logan one, a BoJack Horseman. I can't make that.
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
In the style of the John Malkovich poster.
You've got a huge reading that personality there. Of what kind of person he is.
This fella has problems.
Yeah. I think I'm the referee between these two. Yeah. So in the other corner, we've got
Chris.
Kung Fu Chris.
That's my alias.
Yeah. How you doing, Chris?
Oh, I'm fabulous.
You look fabulous.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Try to
You
lose
both
some
look
weight,
fabulous.
but Jared's a sexy man. You can tell look at his body. It's
Sure.
Gorgeous, yeah.
This is getting intense.
No, but I've also got like the original trilogy behind me, so it's like that's like so. You see the photos?
Just show at the top here.
It's audio, so you can't really see it.
Yeah. It's our own personal Patreon page.
Exactly. It's just for use,
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah,
Nice.
I'm doing
We've
fabulous.
got a little Joker at the back. I've got a bunch of stuff. Yeah. Anywho,
Jokers.
so
Connected.
last week, myself, Dan, and Mass, we spoke about. I'm going to get this right because it's a pain in the ass. We spoke about TV shows that deserve a film adaptation. Boy, was it tough. But we made it through there. We got there in the end. Now we're going to do the flip side, but should be a lot easier. I say that with so much confidence. Yeah, let's see how this goes. Yeah. So with this, there's not really any real rules. We're just going to have fun with it. We'll have a quick... We each have 3 options, hopefully. And, we'll go through each one, have a quick discussion about it. And obviously, in the end, let us know what you guys think. Give us your options and stuff. So, starting off, I'll go first. So I think there should be a TV show adaptation of Dredd. Yeah, I think Dredd.
That is
Nice.
a filter at a point. Is
It
it
is.
going to be the same cast as the movie?
Yeah, specifically not the Sylvester Stallone one, like the good one, in my opinion. Because I just think that had so much potential for like a universe and just so much extended lore, whether it goes forward or backwards. Like, and what's his face? Boy's Boy. What's his name again?
Carl.
Carl.
Urban.
Yeah, totally nailed it. Like,
Oh yeah.
when you talk about like Hugh Jackman being Wolverine and Ryan Reynolds being Deadpool, like, Carl Urban was Dredd.
Yeah.
Totally nailed it.
Just with that jaw.
It is like,
Totally.
nailed the voice and all sorts. And I'm not even that big a Dredd fan. Like, I don't say that with any kind of malice. It's just I'm like unfamiliar with it more so than the movies. Right now, I'm reading Judge Dredd Essential, the origins. That'll be out in a review soon. That's coming out soon. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that a new book?
It's just, yeah, they're doing 4 volumes right now of Essential Dredd. This is the 3rd one, so in Origins. It's really good so far, but a lot of it is I'm kind of struggling with the lore of it. I'm enjoying it. I'm getting used to it. And what better way to explore the lore than with a TV show? Yeah. Netflix, get on it. I think that was a thing for a while, but I don't know what's happening with it.
I think it's even more positive than it was in the past, because there was some talk of it, without Carl Urban. And then I think maybe just before the pandemic, or maybe a little bit before that, there was like the writer mentioned about it, and it's like, oh, it's still happening, but there was no like direct idea. But I think it's more positive than it was, say, after the film came out, when everyone wanted a sequel that we weren't going to get.
Just make it a show.
I think did it do well in the box office, or what happened? Why did? Is that why it wasn't?
Yeah, it was too independent. It was like too unfamiliar.
Right.
People didn't really. People don't really.
Couldn't connect.
Mainstream media don't know that much about Dredd. As me myself, I knew the original film, and that was it.
Yeah, you know the original film. It came out around the same time as I think it's The Raid 2 or The Raid, and Dredd. Like I was looking at it at the time, Dredd had kind of low marketing, but the marketing was also so it's like The Raid again. You know, like it's another tower, and then on top of that, it maybe just stink from the bad name. But it's even like Suicide Squad did terrible there, but like great reviews. Like, you know, and Dredd had great reviews at the time, but
it's a definitive like cult classic now. Like, so it has a load of potential for that. I'm hoping.
I think it's even like the way it's structured as well. It would be it's a police show technically.
Yeah,
so like you could technically.
It's
use
so
that
gritty and
kind
like it's
satire.
It's what we need.
Yeah, it's. I would definitely agree with that. I think that's a belter of an idea.
If we're doing
he's a really unique character that we don't really know much since, like Benjamin, you said you're kind of getting into him. I didn't really know much about him except the Stallone one, and then it was kind of a gimmick, the Stallone one. So it was like, all right, I don't want to take him serious. And then when this one with Carl Urban came out, I was like, fuck. This guy's real.
It was like, with the first one, it was like dark in some parts, but for the most part, like you had Rob Schneider in it.
Rob Schneider.
Stupid.
I mentioned to you before we started recording. My brother just bought so many comics when we were younger, and he bought mountains of Judge Dredd. So 2000 AD, like even getting away from Judge Dredd a little bit. Just very different from American stuff. They're usually quite short stories. Sometimes it's kind of just told in very tongue-in-cheek humor. I felt like 2000 AD had they could be very dark, or Judge Dredd could be very dark, but it's usually quite comedic. Like, I've heard of it being called, like, was it a comment on Thatcherism?
Yeah.
So I'm Irish. I don't really follow your politics, the United Kingdom politics or anything like that. So, well, she wouldn't really deal with Scotland anyway, would she? Too much. She did in bits, maybe. Yeah. Not as much as you would have in England. But yeah, so it's a comment on Thatcherism. I always remember one issue where it was just he's chasing a guy smoking, and like smoking is illegal then, and he's like it's just like cool clips of. I think it could have been like a silent issue where he's just like smoking, and then just like straight going around. And he's like following the smoke and stuff. Like that was it. So they've lots of very small stories that would work well for a TV show.
It has that kind of like this very quick paced ideas that are just fully fledged and then move on. It's kind of nice in that way. I like that classic style, but not in this show. God damn it! I want more blood. I want more violence. I want more slow mo because it's actually a good use of slow mo in this time. Moving on, Chris, have you got your number one?
Oh, right, okay. This one is based on a story that kind of came out like about 2000. I don't know when it came out. It came out in the 2000s, but it's The Killing Joke, and Benjamin has got a poster on the back of his poster.
And that's energy.
Like the animation was good towards the end. So like
don't speak of that first half hour.
The first half didn't really need to be there. But you could I'm thinking you could technically stretch it in a sense, with a TV show. You could, maybe like a 2-part, 3-part thing.
I was going to say you could maybe justify that, but
it's quite a small. But like it's going to go into like maybe it could be like an entry to like the Gotham series they're doing, or something like that, or maybe like something to it. Maybe I'm not really sure, but I think they could do like definitely more justice than what they've done with the animation. Because even the animation's a bit clunky. Imagine Ben Affleck was there. Oh, yeah.
Would you go live action then? Yeah,
I would definitely go. Definitely go live action. Mm-hmm. They've done the animation. I think it was good. I mean, I liked it, but like I'm a Batman fan anyway. But so it's. I think
that's the general consensus of like the Batman animated films. It's like it was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
But they're like the direct adaptation of the show sometimes, I think, or of the comic sometimes. It's put me off them. But I'm a what was it? Marvel soy boy. Like I just can't like these. I have to really.
Oh, are you a Marvel? Are you a Marvel?
Oh, big time.
Oh, I'm a DC guy. Oh, we're gonna.
But to be honest, for me, it's just.
I'm gonna have to retitle this episode.
For me, it's just all the overall choices that DC makes with their universe. I prefer the choices Marvel make, and they're usually like the smaller Marvel characters are usually more underdogs, more flawed. DC or it just doesn't gel with me as much. I love Batman as a kid. Now, don't get me wrong. Around whatever age I was, I remember going around with a tea towel and fucking goalie gloves to be Batman around the house. He was my first superhero, but I got the Marvel crack. I was there. But yeah, so the comics do it a lot, where they do the animated films do a direct translation. But as you were saying about the Gotham Central, it'd be kind of cool. It'd be cool to have that story in Gotham Central. You don't have to be in every season. Just like 70% of this season is that story, but we're bringing Batman in. We're bringing in whoever Joker is. Totally could do that.
I've always thought as well, not so much adapt it into a show, but I've always and I've been getting into them a lot more recently. Do you know the Telltale kind of game series? The kind of it's almost like a Are you aware of them as well, Jerd?
Yeah, I think I've seen again. I mentioned maybe before the podcast. My nephew plays a lot of games, so yeah, I've seen them.
So they're actual stories, and you just kind of choose the options of where they go and what they say and such. It's a nice kind of it's a complete narrative that you're just kind of watching essentially, but also interacting with every now and again. I just want to see a Batman. They've already done the Batman Telltale series. I'd love to see it done in just this one is just this comic through and through. We've got a voice cast to redo it all, and you get to live out this comic, whether it be the Long Halloween, Hush, or the Killing Joke. I'd love to see it in that format. And the same kind of works here with a show. Just do it. Each series
stealing Nike's slogan.
Each series in this case could be just a different Batman story.
Yeah,
I'd be up for that.
Because it's the one thing I always I love the Batman films, but I'm thinking one thing they miss is the detective element of it. He's supposed to be a genius. You never see the genius; he just appears. And you're like, all right, okay, maybe he's just he's so smart he does it instantly. But it'd be cool if you could see I think with the Robert Pattinson one, I think he's supposed to be kind of a newbie to it, like us.
Kind of just after year one, yeah.
Yeah, so directly after year one, so he might actually see him fucking up, hopefully, getting his ass handed to him and maybe coming to their own conclusions and stuff like that, or something. I think that would be quite interesting.
So right now there's a series. I think Tom Taylor's the guy. I'm still not familiar with much of my comic guys, sorry. But it's the Batman the Detective series. I'm reading it right now for the Glasgow Comic Con. You can see the reviews. We'll have them in the links below. And that kind of follows that. He's in Europe, so you get the Batman Incorporated, where you're going to London, you're going to France and stuff. It's and it has that classic kind of detective style going on. It also kind of follows it follows his kind of uprising to becoming a detective, and actually him using it. It has a kind of Sherlock Holmes, Moriarty kind of vibe to it. It's really
cool.
I'm loving that.
Yeah, because they always it's one of those phrases are kind of descriptors of him, world's greatest detective. But it's a lot of characters have that. Yeah. They're having friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and he's just a dick to everybody.
Your solution is in my belt.
Fuck you, man.
Yeah, a bit of that. So, Jerd, have you got your first one?
Well, since I just mentioned him, and to combat Chris's Batman, I'm bringing my Spider-Man in. And I guess there's a couple of things here. So I'll focus on this point now, but there's a certain kind of element that I think DC do that Marvel maybe don't have to do now because they've Disney Plus shows, but Spider-Man isn't Disney Plus, or there could be a bit of complications there. I would really love if Marvel started doing like, yeah, look, this is just a different universe. This is like, do like a 60, like, cause they were planning like a 70s Daredevil way back or whatever. But like Spider-Man, even if it's in Disney Plus, or sorry, if Sony do it by themselves, actually, no, I'm just going to forget any contractual complications that could come with this. Spider-Man, and especially Tom Holland, is like, he's a gymnast essentially. Like, he can do all these mad flips.
Mm-hmm.
So like, do like a Daredevil level story for Spider-Man, where he takes on Kingpin or he takes on just gangs, because like he does that so much. Like I'm reviewing or retroactively reviewing Homecoming and Far From Home. I did Homecoming. It's on the BGCP site. I'm being very slow with Far From Home, but there was a scene from Far From Home that, you know, was removed. It was like him doing his laundry list or his to-do list before he goes on holidays, and one of them is him taking down a mob crew in a restaurant, and it was put as, I think, with the DVD as a short film, but I'd only seen it very recently because someone put it online. I don't think it's not on Disney Plus because it's Spider-Man, but I think a big part of Spider-Man's history is that he's like a street level guy. Like he does take down a lot of crime bosses. Like his rogues gallery in some cases is a bit like Batman's, just like guy in a suit. You know, he deals with a lot of that. So like, I think that'll be quite fun. And to kind of spice it up a little bit, and to bring it maybe closer to what if the Marvel of another series, the Marvel Team Up, which is, it's set in, if you don't know it, it's set in the same continuity, but it's like, the joke about it is it's basically Spider-Man meeting people. But now they've spread it out a bit, so he's not in every issue. But just like, because I feel the Marvel Universe is missing an element of... Sorry, my chair there. There was a deleted scene from Black Widow where she sees a little girl, and the little girl does the widow's bite hand gesture to her, and Black Widow does it back to her. So like, to kind of show, and they talk about in Black Widow, oh, you know, you're this big famous person, but like, we've never seen the Avengers interact with the people. We've seen them being cheered for at the end of the first Avengers, but that's about it. We never see, and that's also a big part of superheroes, but also just the little bits of superheroes. You know, like, obviously when you're reading comics, it goes on for years. Yeah. So they've all this time to have little interactions by themselves, but just kind of like Falcon showing up in Ant-Man, just like a 5-minute thing. Like, but if you did like an episode each, like, they have the money, or someone has the money to make, you know, TV shows now have the money to have people doing Spider-Man stuff. But Tom Holland's also a great acrobat, so you can get around that for a lot of it. And then, just to build up, you can bring in characters, new character, like, have it as a set thing. And then maybe you don't have to tie it to Spider-Man. So that was kind of like a catch-all, my first idea.
Yeah, that would work out.
I think that's a belter idea. See, like, the Daredevil series you mentioned, like Charlie Cox, see the way he saw his kind of life and how he actually gets brutal. You never see that with Spider-Man. You never see, like, when he's like, even when he's like going around shopping and stuff like that, you just go on a day in a life with him, and then something happens and he needs to suit up, or he can't suit up because something's happened and he has to just find a way to do it. We kind of found that a little bit in Spider-Man 2, like Sam Raimi's one.
There's a psychology to it. Aye.
I think like the whole kind of when you were mentioning about like the team up interactions, I was thinking like the GLA, you know, the cartoon in the early 2000s. Like they were kind of, they had like press conferences where the whole team would be on like a stage and some bad talks and stuff like that. So I do miss that kind of interaction with it. I know this is really like going like deep dive.
Well, not really. I think it's an element that the films don't bring across from the superheroes. That's a huge part. Like, the amount of times I've seen the Avengers having press conferences, or my brother used to joke about. My brother used to be like tell tall tales, but he was telling a story about, like, I remember being on the phone to him, and like sometimes like, what are you? That doesn't make any sense. He's like, oh yeah, Hawkeye used to get in trouble because he didn't go to the Avengers team meetings, and I was like, what? I was like, really? But then I've actually read some older comics. I'm like, hold on, it wasn't like, no, there is truth to that. There was some kind of like office drama elements to the earlier Avengers. You mightn't see in the newer stuff where it's a bit more epic and whatever.
Yeah. So I'm going with my number 2 now. And this is one that's a bit close to home to me because I'm a huge Hellboy fan.
Ooh.
And I just... recently, I rewatched the Hellboy animated films that came out just kind of, I think... I might be wrong in the dates. I think like 2004, maybe 2005, something like that. There was 2 films. One was Blood and Iron, which kind of followed a kind of almost like a Bram Stoker's Dracula story with Hellboy. And it's like it's so dark, it's so cool. The other one was kind of Chinese mythology based, and like Hellboy ends up in like a mythological landscape with a lot of real Chinese mythology involved, and it's like it's just so dark and so cool and so beautifully done. And the great thing about it was like the original cast from the Hellboy films are in it. Ron Perlman, Selma Blair, and all that. And like when I was watching them, and the reviews are on Big Glasgow Comic Con. You can just check this out. You can hold me to this. I said this. Like the only thing I was looking at is like I just want more of this. I want to see this animated Hellboy in a series context. Just give me these 2 episodes as part of a wider, just a wider kind of episodic tale, and have it kind of go around the world of, just have it go around the world and the different mythologies involved with it, and like you could treat it as like the kind of cop element of it, and just the kind of X-Files kind of thing about it, bringing aliens into it, because it happened recently with recently on Tracy. I've also done a review for this. There's a Filipino comic called Tracy, and that got a Netflix adaptation, which was a show, and it was great. It was so much fun. So I've seen that done so much justice. So I'm like, and it looks so much like the animated style of the Hellboy animated. So I'm like, oh god, you just have to make this happen. With the original cast, obviously John Hurt's passed away sadly, so we've had to find someone else for Professor Bloom. Yeah, I hate his name. It's so weird.
It was in Gargoyles did something like. Didn't they do that where they travelled around the world and met? Because like I'm sure like we're probably Scotland and Ireland. We're very weird. If our countries ever show up in a film, we're like, oh yeah. I remember that for later. But I'm pretty sure, I don't know, I could be confusing it. I remember, maybe I'm thinking of Turtles where they went to Dublin Zoo and fought mutated rabbits, but I definitely remember some cartoon, if it wasn't Gargoyles, doing something like that where they just, interact, and then they're like, it's kind of like how you have Thor in the comics, and you have, Marvel have the Greek gods, the Norse gods, and then, they're just like, they are living, they're types of people. All of those things are types of people. So, like, going around, or like at Neil Gaiman's American Gods, where it's just like, yes, these aren't just mythological creatures. These are like, it's nearly like, they treat it more like anthropology. Like, they're like, this is a person, this is a person. So you can just go around and...
With that as well, like, you can you can then, like, really... When it comes into the whole ethnicity thing and the different mythological takes in that, usually that's like taken very seriously, and it's like such a deep dive on the lore of each kind of country as well, and it's just so interesting. Like and to see that in a kind of X-Files sci-fi fantasy way, I'd love it.
Yeah, definitely that could stretch out, and like the Hellboy just has so many interesting characters. Well, I guess the makeup effects, but like, Buffy had similar makeup effects. You can bring the action down a little bit.
You could just just make it the animated. Just make it the animated series. It works.
Oh, sorry, animated. Yeah, sorry.
You could do it live action, but like I was speaking to my dad about this earlier on, and he kind of said although Del Toro's like makeup is like superb, like to have it on a weekly or like an episodic tale, it might not hold up as well, especially with, as you were saying, like the action set pieces. So I think you just got to take the animated series take the animated films and just make it a series.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Would that be by like Netflix? Drop it all in one day.
Hope not. As I say, they did well with Tracy. I enjoyed that. I had no I've never read any of the Tracy stuff. That was my first introduction to it, and I really enjoyed it. And it had a very Hellboy vibe to it. So if they were to just do that again, I'd be up for that. Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's good.
That's a good pick.
So, Chris, your second, please.
Oh, this one is kind of just popped away because I've watched it recently. But the Suicide Squad by James Gunn. See if that was brought into maybe like a 10-episode series where like they actually do a mission each one, and it might be super missions. So that means you have, instead of a 2-hour-long movie and just doing one mission, you have 10 episodes of 10 missions and seeing the diversity of them. Instead of just saying, oh, they go and kill a big monster. What else do they go and do?
It's kind of the whole I've not seen it yet, but like the whole big blue beam in the sky from the first Suicide Squad film, and like Starro coming into it. It's like a big kaiju. That's all great, and it's great for cinema, but it's the kind of smaller scale stuff and more kind of defined stuff that's way more interesting to me.
Because I even think the animations and even the comics, they just go into like, I think one of them they went in to get like a bomb in Arkham Asylum at one point. I think this is one of
the Assault on Arkham.
The Assault on Arkham, and it was like the Riddler. So and they were just going to do just to fight that. It wasn't a massive apocalypse going on, and it was just the main part of it is the gang you're with and the battle they have with them, and they're going to be aggressive to each other or anything like that. The end result isn't really important. It's the chemistry between the gang, really.
It's the journey.
And then either they encounter Superman or Green Lantern or Batman or somebody, or they encounter the Joker and they don't know what the fuck to do. They're like, oh shit, what do we do here? So it's like, that's the cool stuff. Like that's what I wanted to see. I mean, the James Gunn movie was, I would say it was better than the Raya one.
I've not seen it, and I totally agree.
So you've not seen it?
I've not seen it yet, but I agree with you.
Like, I love like that. Like, Jerd's probably right at this, is that like he's probably going to come with us. Like DC is darker, but I think James Gunn has shown that you can be dark but actually be fun in it as well. Injecting a little bit.
God, the opening to Guardians of the Galaxy, Christ.
Exactly, but like David Ayer's one was just dark constantly. Like at least this one had like a bit of fun in it as well as a really heavy kind of topic. Like killing everybody. So,
I haven't read it. Like, to be honest, I read some of the bigger graphic novels of like Batman, but like there definitely is some comics. Like I think Harley comics are kind of generally quite. There is. I think there is more fun to DC than Zack Snyder's cast a dark shadow on the DC universe. I think there's like Jimmy Olsen, which is that's a step away again. But that's like I haven't read it, but that just seems to be like, oh, look at this quirky, fun guy, and that's what his comic is about. Which I haven't read much, but I know it's a very beloved series. But yeah, yeah.
But it also that series kind of looks at like him and his daily job, but also seeing what Superman does from his perspective as well. And you're like, fuck, okay, he's just a normal guy and he's seeing all this shit happen, and he writes about it.
Kind of like the ending of Shazam. I'm the most naturally drunk sounding person ever. I promise I'm sober. Like with the spoilers, we had the kind of Superman entrance, like the school, the canteen. Like, just like, oh shit, it's just there. Okay, cool. Just doing a menial thing, but it's like, yeah, it's cool that way.
Yeah.
Would you get the cast from the film in for that, or would you make it a completely other different adaptation with new characters and such?
Oh, I think for like a TV show, the budget might not like fit the kit Margot Robbie, but like I think, I mean, I would like them to like go into a smaller scale, but maybe it might be an opportunity to do like a different, like what kind of Jerd was kind of looking at from the Spider-Man perspective, do something that's not connected to anything, and it's just the Suicide Squad. Maybe get references to Batman, but you don't see him, but he's in there. he's a different Batman. Maybe, I don't know, he's Batman Beyond or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's just kind of going into that kind of area. Because, like, you don't want to keep rehearsing, like, the same stories. Like, it's... Because, like, the Nolan series is, like, don't touch that. That's perfect. But that's got nothing to do with anything else. Didn't mention anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it can be done. You don't need to connect it. Like, well, Marvel's already won that. Like, we need to find another way. Like, God, like,
let's just focus on the standalone stuff.
You know, like it's always going to be that bad. Like we want to get what Marvel's got. DC wants that clearly, but you're never going to get that because you've not got Kevin Feige.
Feige. We had a big discussion about this. Let us know in the comments how the hell you pronounce Kevin Feige.
But we've not got any of him at the helm, so we're never going to have
it. I heard talk that they're trying to position James Gunn as their kind of counterpart to Kevin Feige. Which would be interesting. Now, he'd give it a certain tone, but I guess he'd kind of know, like, for him, it's probably a big, like, man, DC or Disney firing him is probably one of the worst things they ever did. Scarlett Johansson, apparently, could be in talks with DC now. Like, so they, like, that's what, like, I don't know if I mentioned that before thing, but, like, they're just shooting themselves in the foot a lot, like.
I did see a rumor that she might be Poison Ivy, which is a bit like,
baby.
I'm kind of like, yeah, of course she is, but like, like, of course she's going to be great in that role, but
why not?
I wouldn't vote against her.
Nah,
I know. I would
have said Megan Fox, but yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a great time now when Margot Robbie's there. Like, it's a great. And like if DC were to go ahead with like a first, prominent LGBTQ relationship, like that'd shoot them miles. Like, I know, again, it's a giant company, they probably don't care.
They're doing that right now with the
Harlequin
series. I think.
The animated one.
Yeah, I think Harlequin and Poison Ivy are going to have the first date soon.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, totally. I love that show. It's so fun.
Really good. Really, really good. That's a really smart use of kind of like repositioning the character and using, like, having Batman but making him. He's still Batman, but he's a goof.
He's a good Batman.
So good. Yeah, Jerd, have you got a second?
I'll switch over to something not as nerdy, but
yeah, nothing's on the table here. It's all good.
Pulp Fiction.
Ooh.
But kind of in the style, particularly in the style of what Noah Hawley did with Fargo, the series. So he takes, like, it's written in a similar style. Some of the characters are like, they're like 70% like that character. Mm-hmm. And then he kind of just runs with it. Like, so I think the first series of Fargo has a guy, a mild-mannered, like, what's he again? What's he do? It's Martin Freeman, but he's like a housing agent, but he ends up killing someone by accident or whatever. And then the main policewoman is a pregnant woman who's, from like Minnesota, or I don't know, is Fargo a real place? I'm not fully sure. It's like
never watched either of them. I kind of know about them.
Yeah, but if you looked at the lead female character and the antagonist from both, you can see an awful lot of similarities. It's not a retelling, but it's a little bit different. And then it gives them space to introduce new characters. And like Noah Hawley, if you're not familiar with him, is just, I honestly think he's a freak because he's just so good. He writes. He was show running Fargo Legion while writing feature scripts, making music, and writing like best-selling books. He's just a machine. He just produces loads of work. But if you're like, maybe not him, but in that style of taking Pulp Fiction where you have characters that are kind of the same, you don't have to recast. I think sometimes when you see like Lethal Weapon and stuff, those TV shows, I'm like, I don't know, it's a Lethal Weapon TV show. Maybe it's good. I'm not one for kind of shows, if you know what I mean. Where it's like,
I think you've hit the nail on the head with Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction, sorry, that's the name of a cover band I'm in. Pulp Fiction, because like there's so many such a large like space for a film, and there's so many little bit characters that are so recognizable and memorable, and they have like 2 minutes of screen time. It's like you could make a show out of like just one of those small bit characters alone just within that universe.
The guys in the that they get the briefcase off, the kind of nerdy guys.
Mm-hmm.
Give them like a couple like. But with Fargo, they kind of stretch it out. And like the Fargo's second season is set in the 60s, and then third is like back in contemporary times, and then fourth is back in like I can't remember 50s maybe. But then like you can, as it goes on, you can just stretch out, and you don't have to be like. And anyway, Pulp Fiction is a series of stories, so you can just keep doing that, have the same kind of thing, but stretch out over a season. Right. Next season, jump back 20 years, whatever. You can kind of get in on that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood vibe in the next one without having to say. And then you could even do like a Hateful Eight type one, where it's just another season back in Western times. And like again, Pulp Fiction has a kind of bigger meaning. It's like it'd be like the comics of the 50s or something. I'm not fully, it's on the top of my head, but I can't fully explain what that Pulp Fiction kind of means. That these like pulpy stories, noir stuff.
Honestly, you could make like a whole like just Tarantino verse. Just bring loads of different characters into a show. Like have Kill Bill and such involved.
Yeah. Just like end of season 4, like, oh, I'm Kill Bill.
Yeah, just Uma Thurman steps into the screen. Shot even. Yeah, I'd be well for that.
Yeah.
Is it me again? Yeah, it's me again. So my final one, and I'm happy to go. I've got 2 potentials. Both of them are kind of like I'm ending on a bit of a downer because it's like they're not concrete. These ones, not in like a sad way, just in like a technicality way. I'm going to go with a stronger one, and I would love to see a TV adaptation of Planet of the Apes. Now, before anyone says anything, there was a Planet of the Apes TV adaptation in the 70s.
Oh.
I've not seen, and I was told about today.
No, why did you ruined it?
Bastard. Anyway. So.
Like an animated or?
No. Like full on. I would personally do it like how we had the last trilogy, the War of the Planet Apes and Dawn and such. Mm-hmm. I would have it be that. Do it through like Andy Serkis's new kind of creation studio in Britain. Can't remember what the hell it's called. Imagination Studios. It's Andy Serkis's place for doing all his CGI stuff and fun. Like I would do the show like completely out of there, and have it be the original story though. Don't have it be the war and stuff, because it's the end of the trilogy. It's their kind of. That's almost the start of the original story, isn't it? It's been a while since I've seen it.
I think it's so. Like because like the human in the original story, the humans aren't there, so it is kind of like the Batman Begins of the. I'm really referencing Batman here, like especially the kind.
Can't wait for your number 3, Chris.
Oh no, I've scored out a bunch. This is going to be like a complete whirlwind.
The Dark Knight trilogy, the show.
Specifically that one though, we're Christian.
We're Christian with that one. But I think it is like the first 3 films are supposed to be pre, and then afterwards it's just where it should begin.
So you could almost like do the official like this is now the Planet of the Apes, but have it as a TV show, because you could then go into the original films like kind of politics of it and philosophy and morality and such. I kind of don't think was touched on as directly in the new trilogy. Failing that, just do the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes, because I think I'm the only person in the world that enjoyed that. I'd watch that again.
What was his name? Mark
Wahlberg. Yeah. It's Tim Roth as the ape, and he just gives the goddamn best performance ever. I don't believe there's any like because he's jumping around rooms and stuff for no reason, and I just believe that's Tim Roth. There's no stuntman or anything or any kind of like wires. That's just him
That's
going
just
nuts.
him going mental.
Is there a soul in there? Nobody. He wasn't even cast in a film. He just showed up in the monkey outfit.
You're hired now.
Yeah, you're nuts. We're not gonna go against this. Yeah. So yeah, I'd love to see it done by Andy Serkis if we were to get like a series adaptation of that. But yeah, follow the original film. Don't know who else you would get to do it. Charlton Heston and stuff like that.
Very good casting.
What was it? What was it? Cheers.
No, go on.
I was getting connected to Star Wars. Would it just do what Road One done to New Hope? It would begin and end in the beginning of the first film.
Ooh.
Is that how it would be? Like start?
No, I don't know if that. Yeah, that wouldn't work because.
Oh no, it wouldn't.
Well, maybe it could actually. That's a good shout.
Stretched it out.
Yeah, because you could make it then like there's this like. You could make it so like Charlton Heston's character hasn't actually landed on the planet yet, and you don't do the whole film. So yeah, you could just do it beforehand, and it's just the general hunt.
To connect
and like their kind of how they view humans and such, and how they kind of humanity declines into that more kind of primal state. That could be really interesting. Yeah, I'd be down for that.
I'm not crazy familiar with the. I don't think I've. It's one of those things that like I know so much about the original film, but I've never seen it just because it's referenced everywhere.
I only just seen it like last month. Yeah, it's on Disney Plus. I'm gonna watch this. I loved it. Yeah.
In my head, I'm like, when he sees the Statue of Liberty, so it's like a 40-year-old, 50-year-old film.
Spoiler.
But, yeah, light spoilers for but that's even in The Simpsons and everything, where he's like, "Oh no!" It's like, is that at the end of the film or the start of the film?
That's the end.
That's the end.
The end. Yeah.
He realizes he's been on planet Earth all along because he thinks it's an alternate planet where, like, apes. Where he thinks it's an ape planet and like the laws are reversed essentially. But really, what it is that it's just apes have overrun Earth. Yeah. And there's like no way to determine that.
And
it's like so far in the future, basically, like via like a time capsule and stuff like that.
But he lands.
He lands on the planet after like a space expedition that was supposed to only go for a certain amount of years. They go into cryo sleep, and then nothing ever goes right in cryo sleep. So they're like so many thousands of years in the future, and planet Earth is now run by apes. But they don't know that.
Okay, but he doesn't like try to get up in a spaceship and then like.
Oh, it's crash landed. He doesn't have a spaceship anymore.
Oh. So he just like is walking on the beach and then he sees the Statue of Liberty at the end.
That's not the whole film, but yeah.
So why had he like got out of the spaceship and then he's like, "Oh no!" and he tried to get away or something.
It's like way he becomes like one of the humans there, which are just like the whole thing. So anyway, let's go into that. It's kind of like apes are now people. They're like they're in the zoo now, and they're the kind of fun animals.
Oh, okay.
God, have you really not ever seen Planet of the Apes or anything like it? God damn, Jerd. You're supposed to be a nerd.
Yeah, it's funny. Every nerd has their blind spots, man.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff like that. Again, I'm like, oh, I've seen references. I know what it's about.
I feel like I've fully spoiled Planet of the Apes for you now.
I'm not great for watching like old stuff. I'm like I know this was very important. I remember watching like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and like with a film student friend of mine when I wasn't a film student. He's like, "Oh, but you don't understand. It's like it's so important to horror." I was like, "Yeah, but it's bored. It's shit." Like.
It's about veganism.
I know. Yeah. But maybe I'll check out this new film, Planet of the Apes.
Catch the show. You'll catch up.
Yeah, I guess obviously like any kind of TV show now is like there's a situation where they can have the best budgets for anything now. So like
yeah,
as long as like HBO does it, yeah, okay, loads of money.
I trust Andy Serkis to do it justice, especially since he did the Jungle Book film that was like it came out around the same time as the Disney one, and people got really confused.
Mm.
But like his version was like the dark, true story of it. Can't remember
Yeah.
what it was called. Mowgli, I think it was.
Mowgli.
Yeah. And that was way darker. Let's do that. But apes.
And he didn't do the apes in the more recent.
Yeah,
he did the CGI work.
He played Caesar.
Yeah. That's right. That's why I wasn't.
That's why I'm putting him forward. So have it in that style, because that like CGI is phenomenal.
Mm.
Who was the person actually? Was Mowgli not more related to the Rupert Kipling's Jungle Book? Is that what it was? Or was it
I think it was. So that the whole idea was like this isn't your Disney. This isn't your daddy's Jungle Book. Like
this isn't your Disney's Jungle.
Yeah. I can't remember any of it, but it was good.
Yeah, I think it's like Disney are supposed to be really. As well as you might watch Mr. Sunday Movies. He's great for this kind of tidbit. Like that's like I've spent so much time watching his videos. But Disney apparently, like if they know something is like, I think the rights are out there, so they're not like tied up. They don't Disney don't have a lockdown on the rights so on certain things, so people can use them. But if someone is releasing something, like I don't know, they might like push ahead to get a film done. To like go, let's just blow them out of the water with that.
No.
Apparently, it's supposed to be good. I haven't really watched any of those. Well, that's not a Disney film, I guess, but I haven't really watched any of the live.
It's on Disney Plus. At least the first one is anyway. The first of all the like Planet of the Apes adaptations are on there, but they don't do like the entire trilogy. It's weird. As if they don't have the full rights to it. I don't know.
That's odd.
Any whoozle. Chris, your final entry.
Oh, my final entry is going to be maybe kind of in the horror genre.
Ooh.
I really love Alien. I think Alien has done like, especially the Prometheus things. I think it's done a little bit, just not got justice to it. I mean, I love Riley Scott. I think he's great, but like you could, like Alien 1 and Alien 2 are amazing films, and like Alien 2 kind of showed that you can go into a more human aspect with the Marines as well.
It's called Aliens.
It's called Aliens. It's Aliens. Oh shit! Oh.
Yeah.
But Aliens.
Alien 2, the Electric Boogaloo.
Oh fuck! No, Aliens. But like, I think it could be, especially with like growing up with the games and stuff like that. You are usually the Marine, and you're usually fighting the xenomorphs as well. So like, imagine breaking that into like wee sci-fi sections of like.
That's a good shout actually, because then you could tie that into like the Alien versus Predator thing as well, so you could end up bringing the Predator into it.
I was thinking that. I was like, maybe you could do that film justice as well.
I'll say that the first film is decent. We don't talk about the second film.
The second film, you can't see what's happening.
Yeah, I was going to say
it's literally
it's on your video feed right now. Go ahead.
Exactly. Oh, I know. I can't get any likes. I don't know how to get it. But I think that could be so, because you could go into like the xenomorphs, the androids, the humans, even the Predator.
So many little factions and stuff. Yeah,
and like it dumps onto like Jerd's point about Fargo. Like you can go in so many different directions and so many different interesting wee things. Like an android. What the hell does that mean? What does they do daily? Right, watch his like routine of washing toilets and see what he does. But I think that could be a really cool way.
With that being said as well, what I'm also reviewing alongside the Batman the Detective series is Marvel's Alien. They've started releasing their own comics.
Oh,
you might think, it's Disney. Oh, it's Marvel. they're gonna make the Xenomorph Queen a princess, which I'm well up for, by the way. And like, they're just gonna like make it weird, and they're gonna use it for like Wreck-It Ralph references. Those comics are some of the most like psychologically damaging stuff I've ever read.
Okay,
so well done. The opening,
check them out.
Yeah, they're so good, and like you actually care about the people in it as well. So yeah,
there's not. I just want to see them die. Creative.
There's plenty of death, and like, Jesus, it's horrible.
To be honest, unless I'm misremembering, I think Ridley Scott and Noah Hawley that I was talking about could be working on an Alien adaptation.
Ooh.
Really?
I think so, yeah.
That'll probably be through Marvel then, because they own the rights to it now.
That's brilliant.
Oh!
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Because it's 20th Century Fox, they own it now.
Because Scott did Raised by Wolves, which is a very alien type show, but it's not.
I've heard about that. Yeah,
it's like androids in space with kids that they have to repopulate. They're trying to repopulate planets or whatever.
Yeah.
Very alien. I guess I haven't really seen much of Prometheus or anything like that. But
I don't know films.
Sorry.
Don't go down that road with Prometheus.
Ah.
My philosophy is more alien is good alien. I love them all. I think Covenant actually might be my favourite.
Yeah, Covenant is the best, I would say, out of the neutral. I don't know how you say the neutralogy. I would say
the kind of what the hell is it? Not anthology. It's not even a quadrilogy. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. It's the best alien film.
It's the best before the original.
Yeah.
But
you hearing this, Dan and Ian and Mass? You can't stop me. You can't stop me. I'm making this official.
But I think that would be a wee sci-fi bit could be quite interesting. I know there's hundreds of sci-fi stuff now, so it's but just bringing it back to where it started.
With Alien though, it's like that's a nice kind of like we've had so many stuff trying to be Alien. Let's just have Alien.
It's the master kind of nice. Back.
Yeah. Just step in. The chance.
I think since the pandemic, I've watched more horror films than I've ever watched in my life, and I've definitely kind of noticed like, oh, I like dark sci-fi with maybe some action. That's like that's my vibe. I'm trying to watch stuff like that. So yeah, Alien, totally on that. I only really gave 1, 2, and 3. Like I wasn't going any further than that. But like during the pandemic, I just sat down and watched them as an adult after like. Seeing bits, kind of seeing them when I was young, and like not really being able to go, okay, I know what happened in that film, or maybe like I saw them a couple of years ago as an adult, but I don't have a great recall of them. So I'm trying to like some of the classics now. I want to just like watch them every couple of years, so I would just have them clear in my head for talking about nerdy films, I guess.
This is a tangent on that. See, revisiting Alien, what was your thoughts on it? If you had like no real memory of it beforehand, how did you think it held up at all?
Oh yeah, totally. I think with certain like that wasn't Cameron. That was Scott was the first one and Cameron was the second one. Yeah, I obviously there's like a couple of shots where you're like, oh, the alien just it's like puts the hands up to like I don't know why. It's like but it kind of just from a distance looks like a kid
like
wants to be
picked
up.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was terrifying. Like they don't show. Like I think films maybe now because they have CG, they feel like it's to show everything.
Yeah.
But like when things are just a little bit hidden and out of sight, when they didn't have the possibility of like, they're like, okay, we can't really show. Like it's dark and everything's hidden. But yeah, brilliant.
In the right way, like it's still everything is so. What you need to see is in shot when it's dark. Like the whole end scene with when like Ripley thinks she's escaped and she's like working on a couple of the consoles. It's like the wee pipe. It's like you think it's like a big pipe. Like, oh, I wish I was there the first. I wish I could see that for like the first time ever again.
Yeah.
When the like tail or the hand comes out, like absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. My God.
Yawning to get up.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that it's like this culture's kind of ruined. Like we're so used to gore now. And we're like, but because people thought horror, you want to see that. It's what you don't see. It's the scariest thing.
Yeah.
And like it's like sometimes it's cool to see a guy's hand chopped off, or like get him ripped to pieces in like The Walking Dead. But you really just like the scary stuff for me is like the darkness.
It's the imagination.
Like,
yeah.
Don't want to turn your lights off at night after you watched it. You're like, no, I'll just sleep.
It's off. I'm always like, if you can see out into darkness, you're like, oh, this is going to be so. Like, I always just picture something just like shouting and running up the stairs at me. I'm like, oh, don't.
Like, it's floating at you. Hate it.
I remember a couple of Halloweens ago, my going back a good few years now, but a friend of mine with his partner was saying, oh, he to this day they both say, oh no, we've watched that film loads of times. We know like that didn't happen. But I distinctly remember them saying that they watched The Shining and they had to turn it off because they just freaked them out too much. And like they'd seen it again at the time. I remember, they'd seen it before. It wasn't a new watch, and I was kind of laughing at them. So unless I'm like, they still attest that that didn't happen. So maybe I'm just imagining this. But I went to watch The Shining anyway, and I hadn't seen it in a couple of years. Oh,
No,
you frozen or Dan's? No, yeah.
no, I'm here. She's gone.
All good, yeah.
You good?
I continue. There's a scene where he's going into the hotel room and the door's just slowly opening, and then I just had to turn it off. I was just like, fuck. And then it wasn't until like 2 years later when I watched it. There's nothing behind the door. He has to go into another door to see the woman in the bath.
Oh, the bath.
But it was just that I didn't know what was going to happen. It just I couldn't get through like the scene. Like it terrified me.
Okay, I totally missed that because my Wi-Fi dropped out and I shit myself. I think I'm back now. Okay.
You just had your finger up and you'd frozen. I was like, what?
I was worried there. Christ.
Nah,
Oh, yeah.
fine.
I'll catch that in the replay. Jerd, do you have a final?
A final?
Final
Yes. Two. It's in some ways it's not crazy different from my first one, but it's Marvel again. So, but X-Men, and I think with this I'd nearly. I guess now of course Disney have Fox again, so like they could do it, but I'm nearly. I as a Marvel fan, I'm a little bit jealous of DC having the idea of here just there's a TV Flash, there's a film Flash. Grand, they're part of the multiverse. Like just let them tell their own stories. Now again, I guess you're diluting the product or whatever if you have a different style, but X-Men is especially going back to like the Claremont era, like the whole way through it. Really, they always have that vibe of it's a drama. It's a soap opera essentially with superheroes, and you get a lot of that. And like scenes like I don't think we've seen in any of the films, but like I really don't. Apart from obviously I have Logan on my wall, but other than that, I don't really rate the Fox films whatsoever. Like even I went back to watch the first two. And just the character dynamics are just way off. I felt I've always thought that with like in this X2, Wolverine comes back to the mansion after not being there for a couple of years, and like I remember someone saying, "Oh, he's totally flirting with Jean there," and I was like, maybe he's not flirting, but they play like a romantic beat, like a romantic music when he sees her at the top of the stairs, and it is treated in a romantic way. I'm just like. I think in the comics, for the most part, like I haven't read everything now. I've blind spots, but like, but a lot of the times, like Jean's a little bit like Wolverine have got a husband. Like I remember the cartoon which I was rewatching recently. It had Wolverine on Jean and Scott's wedding day. He was wearing the tux for the wedding, but he's in the danger room killing. Yeah. Versions of Cyclops on his wedding day. Like that's just like that's pushing it too much, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, that's cool. Wolverine's a badass." It's like that's very worrying behavior. Like if you see anyone else doing that, like in the real world. But sorry, so to the point of that, I always thought Lost did if you, for the most part, with Jack, Sawyer, and Kate, if you took the way they handled that love triangle. And even a lot of the character choices, and you just transpose them to Scott, Jean, and Wolverine. Like, because I think mainly it comes with Sawyer that, like, he kind of doesn't like. Get the names mixed up now, but he kind of Jack is like the doctor. He's the kind of Boy Scout type, and Sawyer's the bad boy. Sawyer doesn't like Jack, but he respects him, and he doesn't like. There's a certain I can't remember what exactly the scene was, but like. Something to do with Jack's father. He doesn't go out of his way to hurt him, or he doesn't like. He's not a dick. He's not an absolute dick. He's dickish to him, but a lot of it's just kind of slagging, and it's like whatever. But you can tell there's a respect there, and it's like if you have friendships like that, where you're like, they might be a bit testy, but like some of those people that you don't always get on with, you can sometimes connect with better at times. Yeah. And then just the relationship isn't. Yeah. Sorry,
you kind of know where you're at with them.
Yeah, you can like it's just there's a certain a relationship that's a little bit more about respect, and like you might think the guy's a bit of a prick, but that kind of thing. But then even like Sawyer and like it seemed a bit more healthy the way Sawyer and Jack, there was a relationship there or whatever, but that kind of fizzled out, and then Jack, and Kate. Sorry, the names are hard to keep up with. But Evangeline Lilly lost Kate. Like it didn't seem as like Jack. It wasn't like Jack and Kate were in a relationship and Sawyer was just like in the corner. Like it's feeling more natural. Like there was just there's three people. There's attraction going around. It's a bit more healthy. And so that's kind of like the drama stuff with X-Men. But then there's like, it's very common in X-Men comics to see them having a game of baseball or, quieter moments in between big events that like maybe they could supplement the films with like a short series, have all the characters, okay, Wolverine's gone off to Canada for 2 weeks, so we won't see him. So like, then it's just whoever's in the mansion, something happens at the mansion, they have to deal with it there. Do like a mini series, like 5 episodes. Just again, kind of like with my Spider-Man thing. I think both universes could do with building up the lore in the ways that the comics are able to do it, and like they could even, if Marvel did one shots, which is kind of different, but like just anything to kind of make the worlds that little bit more like the comics, which they're going like with the multiversal stuff, everything now. I kind of think from Civil War they turned the corner and are now way closer to the comics in just the kind of, not just like, oh, this is kind of the Dark Knight or this is kind of Civil War. It was closer. Like Civil War was maybe missing the cast that the comic book had. Like, if you haven't read the comic book it's got loads of heroes, like about 200 people on the battlefield at the end. So I was a little bit worried, but like,
take that, Infinity War.
Sorry?
Take that, Infinity War. How many heroes have you got?
Yeah, but it's crazy. There's like the fight scenes in the Civil War comic are amazing. But just again, something to build out the universe.
Totally. Like I'd honestly say my favorite part of probably any of the X-Men films, especially the ones I've actually seen, because after a while they go a bit naff and you just don't really bother with them. But from the ones I have seen, the best parts of it are when they're just interacting with each other, not really the major plot line of it. Like when they're in the school and it's just the kind of relationship between like students, or even when you just see students and all their kind of unique powers that they're kind of bettering and learning more about, and like even like the scenes when they're just in the kitchen and stuff, like just talking. That is the more interesting stuff to me.
Yeah, and like change up the frame of like, I think if any of these superhero stuff, well, I guess that it's ideal to do it in the films too, but if you're doing it in a TV show, just like less a slow thing. Like you've seen Better Call Saul, it's one of the slowest TV shows ever. Like so little happens until something does, and obviously Sentinels are going to be hard to do, but like if you do it as a TV show and if it is linked to the films, just pick the smaller characters that aren't going to take like superpowers, or when you like look at any of the shows, if like the money's there, people are gonna, I don't know, maybe make it a premium show. Like look, the films are practically TV shows now in a lot of cases, but to just stretch it and stuff to kind of like you're building that universe from, I don't know, just from someone who's read the comics for years and kind of having that sense of a bigger world where the MCU kind of seems a bit hollow.
I think that's one thing. It's like with the relationship element is when you touched on it with the respect. That is what happens. Even in the movies, towards the end, you see Wolverine kind of getting along, and like even though he kind of really hates him, just because of that.
Yeah,
he still knows he's the leader, or wait, he's supposed to be the leader, kind of thing. I think is that right? Cyclops is supposed to be the kind of main guy in charge.
Yeah.
Like
there is an element of respect, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, they do capture it to a degree.
But like I'm on point. Like the whole Lost element, I was like, you've hit it in the head there. I was like, fuck, that's amazing. He's Wolverine is supposed to be a dick, and I think Logan in the Logan film, he kind of changed it. Like he's kind of soft in that because he's working with Professor X, but you can kind of see he wants to, like when he's working with his kid in the film, he's just raging all the time. That's what he should be. He should treat people like that because that's his character. Like he just and he's not he's kind of selfish. He just wants to get what he wants, but he knows the bigger picture in a sense.
Yeah.
Throughout the film, I was like, oh, like hey, that's who he is. Why can't you bring him into X-Men and just see him like because Cyclops and Wolverine are the two sides of the coin. You know, respectable leader. Wolverine's crazy and gets the job done. You know?
Yeah.
So it's I love that wee kind of connection you made. And as the first movie is kind of creepy. It does go a bit raging. Just I'm married. You know, you're like okay. Like I don't respect that.
Yeah. It looks different. Looking back now, it's like okay.
Don't touch that.
It doesn't age that well. And there's even the thing in Lost. I've written that comment on so many comment sections over the years, but in like X-Men fan groups and everything. But Sawyer is also used as a murder implement. Like another character manipulates him into killing someone, and Sawyer's kind of like gets the job done, kind of like Wolverine, but he's tortured about it. And like the Josh Holloway, like. If I had my way, whoever's watching or writing the new X-Men film, or sorry, not watching, whoever's acting and writing and directing the new X-Men film would just like watch those first couple of seasons of Lost and see how Sawyer plays out, like and especially the dynamic between the three. Like even Jack doesn't like really hate Sawyer; he kind of gets him, but like he just know. Like, but if anything, Jack's probably more of a prick to Sawyer. Yeah, he looks down on him a bit. But it's funny because I'm reading the Claremont issues from the start. So when Wolverine and all them joined, and nearly everybody's a fucking apart from like maybe Storm and Nightcrawler, and Colossus, nearly everybody's a prick. Like they're just joined, like especially in the first couple of episodes because you've got
unlikables.
Sunfire, John Proudstar, and Wolverine are just the narkiest motherfuckers going. Like they're just. Constant jibes. Wolverine is constantly dragging on Cyclops, like just always. It's like, shut up, you prick. You're just rude. Like, stop.
Give him a break.
Yeah, it's nearly always Cyclops. Shut up, will you?
It's almost unwatchable. That's the like. Just to close out on that. Like the benefit really of having like TV show adaptations of these films that we're talking about is like. With a show, like you can bring out the layers of the lore for each film, and really like build connections and build characters. Like, and so many of these films lack that, and it's like it's usually like the one thing that's keeping them from being like incredible films. You look at like the Lord of the Rings trilogy and stuff. Like it's phenomenal. Like you get to know all the characters, you get to see all the different layers of them. And how they interact with each other, and it's like, so you could almost just make it like what film deserves a trilogy, a Lord of the Rings, like Peter Jackson trilogy. But like, yeah, I think all these shows really deserve a TV show adaptation. I'd be well up for all of them.
Because even like Apocalypse, the X-Men Apocalypse film, you can't just fling Apocalypse into a movie. You need to build him up, man. Like Thanos, he's a big powerful guy. So
like you were saying with Better Call Saul, with it being such a slow build to something that eventually matters, like it feels earned at that point.
Yeah. Like obviously they wouldn't want to repeat Thanos exactly, but like if roles are reversed in the Fox, like my main issue with the Fox stuff is they just. There's so much in the books, like you don't need to try and change the characters. Like I guess when the time they're like, okay, the costumes, like if they did accurate costumes back then, they'd look ridiculous now. But don't change what's there. Like everyone with like, it's kind of a mute point because everyone says it, but like Apocalypse in the films is like he's a tiny little guy. His powers are just random. Like his powers in the comics, even though I could be wrong, maybe more coming from the cartoons. His characters, his powers in the comics are more like kinetic, and he's a big guy who can change his body into different kind of weapons. But like a lot of it is just shooting energy, and he's a fucking big dude. Like he's a boisterous kind of guy. He's nearly like he's Hulk, but he's stronger and he's got energy projection. He's got a lot, but when he's just this tiny little guy without much added, and like they showed that he can grow in size, but only like not really. It's only in a dream in that.
It feels wasted. Like
yeah,
it's an important character. So yes, with that is all 9 of our choices, with 3 each. I think we all pretty much came up with pretty solid ones.
I think we aced
it, yeah. Let's hope in the near future at least one of these comes a reality. I'm not biased, but I hope it's all mine. So, with our discussions on like Marvel and stuff right now, we should probably talk about that new Eternals trailer that just came out. So you've all seen this, guys, yeah? This is the final trailer we're getting as well.
The last one? That's the one that's going to get the only one we're going to get now?
Yeah, so before we get into it, are you guys looking forward to the Eternals? Or like, do you have any history with the Eternals at all? I don't.
It's kind of like the Guardians of the Galaxy for me. Like, go in, don't really know much about them. I've seen them. I know what they look like in the comics. I'm aware of them, but I just don't.
Yeah.
I'm vibing with. Yeah.
Well, I'd seen like I was kind of the same. Like I read basically from the 90s. Which I don't know if did you get the UK reprints of Marvel comics, the Panini. They'd have like 3 issues in one. Oh, it's up there. Oh crap! Like there was like a 3 issue in one story. So you'd get. I was reading stuff from the 90s kind of on, but they'd throw in some classics, just like in like maybe sometimes the third story would be a classic story. So I was getting a good mix. It was weird, like because it was nearly like your comic reading was curated by this whoever's deciding what's in these different books. Like so there'd be an X-Men Spider-Man one, but it'd be 1 issue of Amazing Spider-Man, 2 issues of Spectacular Spider-Man. So it was you're getting a kind of chosen.
But like, there's no continuity there, is there?
Oh no, they would. They'd be selecting stories, but they'd have like, okay, this arc in this comic is 12 issues long. That's all. That's the main story for 2 weeks. We're going to throw in a classic here. We're going to throw in a one shot. We're going to blah blah, and then kind of build it up like that. But I was reading quite a bit, but I never really seen Eternals, and then only like recently I just googled it. It's like so they're made by Kirby, but they haven't really had that much of a comic presence. There's maybe like Kirby had the first run on them. Maybe someone else picked them up for a short time, and then Neil Gaiman picked them up in the early 90s or late 90s. And again, they've only had like a proper solo series, apart from maybe they've a new kind of revamped launch, ahead of the film coming out. So they have a very limited comic history, even though they're there and whatever.
It's an interesting choice that this is where they would go next with it. Maybe there's more lore and comics available with them in it. I just really can't think of because they're not in the mainstream attention anyway. Really, the grabbing point for me was 2 things really. First, the cast. Like the cast have got to do this alone. Like I don't need any like backstory. That cast looks incredible.
It really is.
Yeah, I'm a big Kumail Nanjiani fan.
Yeah,
and Angelina Jolie as well. And with that as well, also having Chloe Zhao as the director. So she did Nomadland, and we spoke about this in the podcast previous when the first trailer came out, and our initial thoughts on it. And I was kind of alone in saying, I really hope this is like a turning point for Marvel, where they don't make it like a bombastic blue beam in the sky. There's a giant thing we need to do, giant big action thing that has to happen with these characters, and more so it's like the aftermath, and it's that kind of Nomadland style of just existing and just being within this setting with no real big stakes or anything, just getting to know the characters. And obviously there'll be some, as we've seen from this trailer now, there's a lot of bombastic stuff going on and a lot of stuff happening. I kind of hope that's towards the start though, and it's almost like bringing us up to speed, and this then becomes they've come to Earth to kind of rebuild, and that I kind of hope that's what the film's about. Very unlikely, but with Chloe Zhao at the head of it, I could see it maybe being pushed towards that more.
Yeah, I think it's hard for superhero films to step away from that big action, bombastic third act, no matter how they built into it. Mm-hmm. But I could see it being their more reserved stuff, like being built through it.
I would even say that Logan is like a reserved film because that's not really bombastic. Like
it's like
great.
They have action stuff, but like it's not really the end you remember.
Yeah.
And like well, spoilers for Logan, which came out. Yeah, so the off chance you haven't seen Logan or don't know, like it's there is a big action beat at the end, but then he dies, and like that's the kind of like it ends on a sad note, like.
But it totally means something as well. Like you kind of accept it. It's not just like why would they do that? It's like you totally understand why they would do that.
Yeah.
He's kind of reached the end now. It's that kind of Clint Eastwood's like story. Just he's finished.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because like say the Eternals, when I was looking at it, it's 5 years. When was Infinity War? Was Infinity War like 2 years? Or Endgame, was that 2 years after the
That was 2017, I think, or 18. 2018 was 2018 was Infinity War. 2019 was Endgame.
Do you mean the film or the actual story at the time it's set in?
Is it not in the same? Like it's only a year in between? Is that not the? Or
maybe it's been a while.
Do you mean release, Chris, or?
Oh no, I mean in the actual story. In the film.
When
Thanos clips it, how long has it been until they figure out to fight him again? Is it this like same
5 years?
Period? It's the same.
5 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So like they've just picked up right after Endgame. That would be kind of. This is where
I think so. Like, I even remember the trailer now.
Yeah. The way they kind of worded it in the trailer, it's like they finally go, well, why didn't you help when Thanos was here? It was like, we can't do anything. It's only deviants. We only deal with deviants.
That was an interesting choice of words as well. Deviants, and we've just had Loki, where we learned about the deviants. So, does that have any bearing?
Did they mention deviants in Loki?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like Loki is sorry, no, that's
he's a variant. I was like, oh god.
Yeah.
Yeah, deviants. So, right, the Celestials made the Eternals and the Deviants. I don't know why they made the Deviants because they're bad lads. And apparently, like in the comics, I don't know, it mightn't be the same, but in the comics, Thanos, I think, is an Eternal with the Deviant gene, and then Deviants are basically how we have mutants. I think all the superpowered people in the world are either by Celestials or Eternals. Like that's the potential for that for superheroes to happen at all. So even though Spider-Man got bit by whatever radioactive spider, I'm just saying because there's so many fucking variations on that now. I don't even know that. There was one in the comics where it was like a totem. He was a spider totem. He was like, what if the radiation just killed the big story was like, what if the radiation killed the spider before it could bite you? Yeah. Or, it died because of the radiation, not because it bit you. So like that, they're saying that the spider was like a magic, I don't know. That was from a really good story point from J. Michael Straczynski.
Mother and father were killed by a spider in an alleyway. Shot down.
But yeah, so they're all Eternals are supposed to be like comics wise. Like the Celestials are responsible for how all mutants are able to mutate eventually or get any type of superpowers from not being, from going from normal human to thing.
Mm-hmm. So the one thing that really caught my eye out of this was, and I got it wrong in the kind of behind the curtain when we had our initial meeting to discuss this. I got it wrong. My initial thought was we seen Galactus for the first time. In reality, it was me not being that much of a big comic fan and not knowing my characters as well. It's Celestial. So we're bringing them into the equation.
Yeah. So them have even less experience. We've seen one in Guardians 1?
I think so.
Do you remember when it was like showing the power of the Power Stone? It was like this giant with a staff.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. I don't remember that.
So in the comics, all I know of them in the comics is like they just show up, just standing over Earth, and they're like, "Oh shit, the Celestials judging us," and then like it's usually just like all the superheroes just like push them away. That's usually it.
Usually
I think
superheroes win. Yeah.
Push them away.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing. So we probably won't see that in the comics, or in the films. But there was something else recently where like the X-Men, they came down and like Cyclops just just told them to fuck off or something. It was like not in so many words.
Are the Celestials not kind of like the Thanos for the X-Men?
No. Sorry, the Celestials. No. Apart from that thing where they are maybe the cause of how mutants are able to be mutants, or people are able to get superpowers, I don't think they have any strong connection to the X-Men. That was from a recent. Sorry, guys, it's raining here. I hope that's not too noisy.
No, don't worry.
Yeah, they're not like a villain archetype of. They're not in their rogues gallery.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very similar powers though. Like from the trailer, you can see. I can't remember the actual character name, but the Richard Madden character. That's like kind of he can control like laser. He's got kind of Cyclops' power, but
they really held on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really like the end of the trailer really has him like, oh, doesn't that look familiar? Who does that? Kind of.
It's just could be like gentle nods to potential, like
maybe
like a revamp of the X-Men, maybe.
They brought into it as well the whole. From trailers previously, it's kind of made as if they arrive on the planet, kind of in that Planet of the Apes kind of scenario, where they just kind of not crash land, but land anyway, and they're all together. But it looks like from this trailer, they have to all find each other again. It's kind of that could add a nice dynamic to it of this kind of character building.
Yeah, I think they feel like kind of just being alienated from each other. I think that could be directly tied to that could be a big point of the Neil Gaiman story from the noughties or whatever. Yeah, so I guess like Jack Kirby is kind of we're going to see a lot more. The visuals of their suits and stuff that we've seen so far, I don't know if you'd really like. Another great YouTuber that I watch is Comic Tropes. Just like an absolute wealth of knowledge. Like it's crazy. He just knows everything. Like he's done a lot of videos on Kirby, and he was saying that like Galactus. If you go back and look at like the '60s Galactus and a lot of Kirby's characters, it's actually kind of like Aztec designs that he uses. There's a lot of like crosses and like circles and like even I don't know if the Galactus head thing counts as that too, but their costumes don't really look much. But I guess with the seeing Celestials, it's definitely Kirby-esque, and like I kind of had the feeling when I first seen the first trailer, I was like, did that look good? Like, did it like not like visually? I mean, like is it muted? Like they say a lot about Marvel stuff, but I just think like especially since watching the new trailer, I'm like, this looks really good. Visually, it's very pretty. Like
it's a total contrast to the first trailer. The first trailer was very like mute. No, it was like subtle almost. Like
I think it is.
It wasn't loud. It was like that was the introverted trailer. Now here's the extroverted trailer.
Yeah, when he gets into it, like the characters nearly seem like something that like I haven't read or watched an awful lot of Harry Potter, but like it seems nearly like they're more fantastical in their depiction. I haven't seen.
They do seem like more magical than they do like have superpowers.
Yeah,
that's kind of what you mean. Almost like a kind of Doctor Strange way. Doing such
uncanny, but like, I think if you were to go look at I don't have a good idea of the deviants in my head, but I think if you were to go look at them, you'd be able to see the connection between Kirby's designs and they look weird. It's like one like from my mind's memory is like a big horse spiky thing with like a human face or lots of like every one of them looks very different.
Make an interesting rogue gallery, It wasn't without its Marvel sense of comedy as well. We got that kind of towards the end with a kind of like safe zone. And we get one of the characters that's kind of going like, and they're all like sitting at a table, and he just goes like, this is the safe bunker. It's pretty like discreet and like you wouldn't ever know. And the bit, what's this table made of? Adamantium? And he like slams it and the thing just breaks in two. Like, it's good that they've not lost that with different directors and such.
Yeah, it's funny how it carries
Like,
through. Like, you always get those moments.
IKEA.
The one thing I really like is kind of in superhero stories and all, it's always kind of the same. They always have like cannon fodder enemies. I really hope they don't have that anymore. Like, you know, I think with the Eternals are trying to make the enemies are fighting. What was it? The variants, or what was the? How did they say the names were?
The Deviants.
The Deviants. Maybe they're trying to make them actually like name worthy and not just a. Oh, there's a deviant. I'm going to go and kill him. You know, maybe, you know, it's like
an actual threat.
An actual threat, or like something, because you don't want it to be like Thanos' army. You know, it's just all these. Oh, you just kill all these things. You know, you want to actually have like some stakes at this. But it's also you don't want it like a big light in the sky as well. What you were saying as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna be so upset if there's like a big blue beam in the sky. But with that, like, it looks like it's gonna tackle a lot of different kind of genres. Like with this trailer, we've seen a lot of the action-packed stuff, but it also has its more subtle moments of just quiet talk and kind of, I guess, like just general discussion points of where they've been and like more like how they're feeling in the situation, how they think they're going to deal with it, which is like you don't get it a lot. You get like a quip and then it's go into straight action, or you'll get like some like liar revealed stuff, and it's like, in the second act, like you've said this and like, but I think this, and like, we'll go our separate ways then. But there's never really any like emotion to it or real humanity. But with them being kind of like almost like kind of god characters here, they do have some humanity by the looks of it.
Yeah, there seems to be kind of a family, like as someone was saying. You know, they've known each other for like they have to go find each other, but they do know they all know each other. So and they've known each other for like 7,000 years. So yeah, there will be that kind of connection between them.
Yeah, bring a nice dynamic. There was also like there was almost like a main antagonist here beside the Celestials, and it was something kind of clutching Angelina Jolie's character. Any idea what that was at all?
It was the humanoid character?
Kinda, yeah. They're in like a cave, and like it gave the whole kind of villain spiel of like, you uncertain doom, da da da. Any idea who that is at all?
No.
No, I know that there's the Irish actor Barry Keoghan. Keoghan. Yeah, Keoghan. I think I should be able to say that name because it's the kind of name that's like Saoirse Ronan that people always get wrong. But like, I'm Irish, I should be able to say it. He plays. He could be counted as an antagonist. He's like so the deviants, but I'm not because I think in general it's kind of like, again like Guardians of the Galaxy. There's not much. There's even way less to go on with Guardians of the Galaxy, but like with this, I don't know what they're going to do. Like, when they defeat the deviants, are they now allowed to interact with the world? Because like, even as a comic book fan, like I've read so many big stories where it'll be an X-Men story, and they have to throw in like 2 panels of a collection of the Avengers and the Fantastic Four trying to get into this force field where all the action is happening. So like, that's so common in comics. It's crazy. Like I must really try and go and find loads of those panels where we're like, oh no, we can't get in. Blah, 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 blah. Which I guess, you know, they have to do it some way because like other than that, like it's connected universe if they don't have the characters there from the start. But I don't know. I them not fighting against Thanos, I'm like, yeah, come on. You could have done. Like, I'm sure they'll work a way around it. But sorry, to the point that the villain characters, I'm not sure. I know that one of the Eternals could be a bit of the Barry Keoghan guy could be a bad-ish, or an anti-hero. I don't know.
I hope not. I hope it's just this straight, like, we're here to do a job and this is what we're here to do. I hope there's no, like, dissension, anything. Yeah. Any closing thoughts on that at all? On the trailer?
Nope.
Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah.
I would say yes. It's going to be the same kind of mindset as when I went in the Galaxy, the Guardians. It's going to be the same. I never really expected much. I knew James Gunn as a director. I don't really know this new. I only know from is it No Man's Land?
Nomadland.
I
Francis
love that
McDormand.
movie.
Yeah.
So I've watched her movie, so I'm guessing it's going to be good.
I hope it's within that style, as I say.
But yeah, I'm kind of on the fence that I would love it or not, or maybe just like it. There's no major.
We'll see when it comes
stakes.
out. Which I cannot remember when the release date is. I think it's this year, isn't it? Must be.
Oh yeah,
November 3rd, I think, is it? Or it's like it's crazy soon, I think. Because like Shang-Chi, even though because that's
Shang-Chi. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I think it's always like they used to call it Shang-Chi, but it's spelt that way. But I think if you were actually, forgive me, I don't know, is it Mandarin if it's translated over? It should be Shang. It's not actually Shang. I think they always used to call it Shang, but like, you know, they've learned more. They're listening to Asian people and going, "Oh, okay, that's not how you say that." But
I trust Disney Plus and their white ways, their Western ways. They're
like, that's what it looks like. We'll call it that. We'll call it that.
Shang-Chi.
November.
Yeah, that's out now. The premiere. I think maybe that's released September 3rd, but I really think thing is November, very soon.
It's probably the one Marvel film, like probably since Infinity War, actually, that I've really looked forward to. The stuff with Black Widow and Far From Home, like I've yet to see Black Widow yet. I didn't really have that much. It was like, I'm not that really into the character. I'll check it out at some point. Far From Home, like that was out in cinemas, and I was just like, "Oh, that's there, cool. I'll go see that." Wasn't in any rush to it, but yeah. No malice towards, just like, no rush. But with the Eternals, I'm really like, I need to see this film. I want to see where it goes.
Okay, so did you like Nomadland a lot?
Like, yeah, like, I just I thought it was fresh. I thought it was a really fresh film. Because as far as I'm aware, the only actor in it is Francis McDormand, and there are a lot of characters in it, but they're just real people. They're real nomads.
I heard that.
And it's such an interesting, and it's like the film's not really about anything. It's just the journey.
Following her.
There's no end goal. It's just,
Is it based on a real person specifically, or?
I'm assuming so. I think it is.
Yeah. I'd seen some YouTuber talk about it in passing. I don't know. I find it very hard to watch all those Oscar films. Like, I know it's supposed to be great, but like,
honestly, I'm not the biggest Frances McDormand fan. Like, usually whenever I've seen her in something, I'm just like, I'm not that.
Oh, really?
Fan.
I don't see her as a good sign if she's in it.
I was like,
I remember me and my friend we were in Vienna on holiday, and there was like near one of the parks, there was like a vendor in a trailer selling like.
Mm-hmm.
It was strange because we just kept going getting this like apple. It was like a fizzy apple drink. It was like a pop drink, or why can't I think of soda? But it was just like apple. Yeah. But the woman working there looked awful like Frances McDormand. We just go and just be like, you know, I don't know. She speaks German. We didn't speak the language with her, but we just loved going because like she looked really like her. It was like. So yeah, in the same way, I was like, well, anything that I can buy out of here must be good because Frances McDormand looked like Frances. Same. I generally see if I see her in a film, I'm like, yeah, definitely.
It's probably gonna be a good film. I've just got like a weird thing. I don't know what it is, but no, I watched it with my parents, and I was just like, yeah, I really enjoyed that. Like that felt like a new film experience to me, almost like a documentary, because it was just such a real scenario.
Yeah. I'm just thinking now, the video I was watching on it used natural light. So I don't like I've dibbled and dabbled in film a bit, but I like some of the technical stuff. I couldn't guess.
That's probably a good way to put it. It's like it's really subtle in its brilliance. Like it cuts so many corners and makes it work.
Yeah, It's hard to know, because, like, especially when you see these, like, great directors come into a film, or into a Marvel film, or a superhero film, sometimes it's just very hard to make a good film when it's a superhero film.
Yeah,
like,
of course,
I nearly think every superhero film has, apart from, I think maybe Infinity War and Endgame, like Civil War, like even after I was reviewing the two Spider-Mans, they've fantastic bits in them, but especially with the MCU stuff, I think because they're under such a fast pace, they've like, oh, let's just like, so Spider-Man Homecoming, like Peter steals Flash's car and trashes it. Like, not very Spider-Man-y. Like, they're going for laughs, but like, I think sometimes they just throw too much in, and like if you just hold back certain scenes, like I don't know, but
like we said, usually it's the ending of the film that's like the least memorable or the least enjoyable these days, especially in superhero films, because it is just so cut and dry. It's cookie cutter, big monster, or like impending doom, and it's just like a big beam in the sky. It's like, we've seen that before. And it gets lost in the shuffle. It's the build up, and like I say, it's the journey that's the most interesting part of these films.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of. I'm hoping that's where this is. I'm hoping that's where the Eternals will take it.
Yeah,
it's really focus on like the people and the characters.
It's virgin territory, like, which is rare in Marvel. Even though they're like, I guess part of the fun, if you know, from reading the comics, you're like, you don't know exactly how they're going to use something, or they use elements. Like we say with WandaVision, I was kind of aware, but that was like stepping out of. I had read limited Avenger stuff, especially no Avenger character solo stuff. So mostly I read was Spider-Man and X-Men. So when I started to see WandaVision thing, and then I'm watching YouTubers breaking them down, I see, oh, so they're using a bit of this story. I gotta read a bit of that story. I was like, it's not great, it's dated or whatever. But then like they keep just cycling through stuff. So I like that now Marvel have that thing of, and even with Loki, there's like a series called Agent Loki. There's TVA stories. There's other stories. There's a lot of multiverse stuff
like that.
Yeah, so like it's anything they make. It's like it's still interesting to see what they make. But John, I think like they're making big ass swings with the Disney Plus shows. Nearly all of them. I look back now and like, I don't know. Like even Loki, I found was great, but I'm like, was it really good, or was it just good for a Marvel thing?
It's something you need to see. Exactly. It's something we need to look at in hindsight, go through it all, and just kind of.
Yeah.
I think once this whole phase ends, like go back through it and like, was this really like the phenomenon that we thought it was initially?
Yeah.
And such.
I just think every film has like something really stupid. Like I'm a nitpicky guy, so like I'm like, oh, it's just I.
That's why you're here.
Good stuff.
I hired you.
Yeah, but so like, I've been in saying that the two Spider-Man films with Holland, I do enjoy them quite a bit, and I think even maybe differently than that is they finally showed Spider-Man being really Spider-Man-y in the final act. There's a lot of acrobatic web sling and stuff, which was missing from the first time. I still want to see, I don't know, in the next 3 films, in the next film I want to see at least 10 minutes from web slinging across New York. Just solidly. Open the film, it's just 10 minutes web slinging and like whatever. Helicopters are chasing him. But we need to see a lot more of that, like, because I'd say 90% of Spider-Man images you see in a comic book, he's against the backdrop in New York, and we haven't really seen that.
I want to see him delivering some pizzas. So
let's go back to the Sam Raimi stuff.
Go back to Sam Raimi stuff and see.
As much as people like go, oh, Tobey Maguire was such a bad Spider-Man, the films are so goddamn delightful. I love them so much.
He's good early Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Early Spider-Man was a nerdy kind of just like Ditko Spider-Man. If you look back then, it's like he totally fits that.
Yeah. Speaking of, and guys, you know what time it is. I do this every time. Like a news anchor. Nailed it. People on video won't see me doing that. It's fine. So yeah, we've got a couple of news items for you. just before we close out today. So, speaking of Spider-Man in the next film, we had some comments. We've had loads of comments, to be honest. But most fun, for me at least, is we got Willem Dafoe addressing whether he'll be the Green Goblin again. We've had Alfred Molina kind of confirm that he'll be there for the Spider-Man No Way Home. And we're getting Tobey Maguire, apparently, Andrew Garfield. So yeah, people asked if Willem Dafoe's on board to come back as a Green Goblin. And he's put it this way. When a film comes out, does anyone have a good Willem Dafoe impression before I do this?
I could try.
Oh, here we go.
For it. Have you got the quote there?
I don't know the exact, I can paraphrase it. The time to talk about a film is when a film comes out.
Oh, nailed it!
my favorite thing ever in nearly anything is like, I have at the end of the Spider-Man one. It's like, I have a father. His name was Ben Parker, and he just like Norman touches the dial on his arm. He's like, Godspeed, Spider-Man. It's just every time I hear that, I'm like, oh.
Don't tell Harry.
Oh.
So yeah. So when a film comes out, this is the exact quote. When a film comes out, that's when it's time to talk about it.
It's definitely. He's
very
definitely.
He's in this film.
He's in it.
Shut up, Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
That's totally you in the film.
It's a nice dodge, but you're in it.
Yeah.
We don't trust anyone these days, you damn Hollywood people.
Exactly.
Well, I think Molina was pretty much just like, oh no, I'm in it. Like it's the worst secret ever. Like,
did he like all but confirm it, or did he actually confirm it?
Yeah, that's like he said in an interview or somewhere. He was like, "Oh yeah, I'm totally in it." Like it's it's the worst kept secret, and he's like, "Oh, it's fantastic. Do it on this, do it on that." And then
I don't know who to trust.
No, apparently, and then because Kevin Feige was asked about it, and he's like, "Oh, what do you think about Alfred Molina talking about Spider-Man?" He's like, "Oh, some people like to talk. I don't like to talk."
Yeah, that was that's goddamn Feige.
Very mob boss kind of attitude. I think it can be a hit out on. Yeah, but
snitches get stitches. Yeah,
but it's like whatever they're doing, the fact that they haven't released a trailer is. I honestly think it's fantastic. Like when you go back to Homecoming, when they showed every act of the film in the trailer.
Yeah.
Just we don't need to see everything. It's annoying. I'd love to see it, but imagine the magic of just like which is so rare to go into a film and just have those, like, just not have. I think they should nearly try it. Just like one film, no trailer, not at all. Go see it. Well, they can maybe on the last day. But
I do not want to know anything going into this film.
Yeah,
I want to be there for the first time, experiencing every single shot of it. And honestly, like that's a whole discussion point in itself. But if trailers just were like at the very most 30 seconds long, like ideal. I can't do this whole like 3-minute music video length, just giving away the entire plot.
Yeah,
and like the main action points of it. It just dilutes the experience. Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I think it's genius that they've not given a trailer at all for this, and I really hope it stays that way. You just go and see the film. Like,
Feige confirmed that everyone was like, I'm on, I guess, Spider-Man Twitter, where it's just like everybody is like, oh, it could be at this event, and he might talk about it here, but then it won't be released online. But I think Feige, it's some CinemaCon thing, and Feige was just like, oh, a trailer's coming out before the film. That's all he said about it. So
it might just be the day before or something, or the week of.
Yeah, it's long shot. From Far From Home, I think someone had done like the maths of like we're well past. If we were as far away from Far From Home as if it's still supposed to be coming out in September or December. I think it's December 17th. Yeah. If it's still supposed to be coming out then, we would have got a trailer by now compared to Far From Home. But, like, Delta variant, they couldn't not be really. Like, Venom was just delayed. So they're saying they're not going to delay Spider-Man to keep that at the thing. Like, if we're lucky, we could just get a really fucking packed 2 months.
I I'm buzzing for this because it could potentially be. It might not be the exact like replica of the Green Goblin. He might be the Hobgoblin or something like that. You never know.
Ooh.
But like he could be something. It might not be. I don't think it can be the exact Sam Raimi prediction. So it could go into whole different areas. And I loved him. He's like a scary bastard when he's an evil guy. So
he's the fun dad.
Exactly, he can play both ways. In a pink, he owns a motel, everything. But
what do you mean you've never walked in and your dad crawling in the floor talking to a mask?
Oh no, I do that sometimes just to myself.
Yeah, just like fun.
I'm every film he's done, I've never been disappointed. Some of them are weird as hell, but like art house films. But like he's never I've never been disappointed.
No.
I'm excited. I really hope it's like a Hobgoblin. Yeah, like a kind of alter ego of it.
Do you think they'll bring? Do you think? Because obviously we've heard rumours of Tobey Maguire being a part of it, and Andrew Garfield with the Amazing Spider-Man. Do you think we might see some of the rogues gallery from the Amazing Spider-Man come into it?
Well, like Rhino.
Right.
I think it's anyone but Rhino. Like Fox is the Jamie Foxx and Lizard. It's very up in the air. Like
Jamie Foxx, Lizard, but there was also Dane DeHaan as the Green Goblin. So
yes,
remember that was pretty cool. I love Dane DeHaan as well.
I think all I heard was Electro Lizard. Like, 'cause there's certain people that might want, like, 'cause like Dane DeHaan, like if they're bringing, I think it would be if Defoe was in it, I'd say he would be Green Goblin. He's from like he mightn't be. There might be a little bit different, but he'll essentially be the Raimi. Because if they're bringing in Maguire, I guess if they're bringing in the multiverse, it's a little bit different version. But like, I don't know. There's so many just like rumors and things. Like it's hot. Like
in this case, there's like so many possibilities as well. Like, are we going to get the two Aunt Mays meeting up together? No, wait. I think she might be dead. Never mind.
Rosemary Harris.
Yeah, I think she might have passed away.
That's what always really connects. I don't know, because I think I was in writing my Homecoming review, I practically wrote a Sam Raimi Spider-Man 1 review. I was like, okay, I don't need this in here. I can just take that out. Yeah. I have the guts of that. But I was looking it up. I think she could still. Oh, I think she's alive.
Oh, okay, yeah, bring her in then.
She's 93.
Cool, let's go for it. Confirmed. Right here in the BGC official. It's confirmed she's in it.
I love the way she speaks. She reminds me of my mother, the way she speaks. So, like, I always had that real strong, very kind of. I don't know, like, not that my mother took like elocution lessons or anything, but that kind of. She's like, my mother's like a West of Ireland country woman, but just has that kind of, I don't know, that motherly kind of tone to her voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some really sweet, like especially in the Raimi films, some such sweet moments with them, like and Uncle Ben,
borderline cheesy, but like I love it.
And I honestly think it's just so sweet, and it's like I'm like, I'm down for this.
Speaking of crossover films and such, if we're doing Sam Raimi and there's also been discussion. I don't know, Kevin Feige again with his big statements that he comes out with every goddamn day. We're just selecting a couple of them. Yeah. Kevin Feige was asked about a Marvel and DC crossover. I had to say what it was. Never say never. If you're calling it that kind of mob boss thing. Never say never.
Also, Justin Bieber's one of Justin Bieber's major top hits.
No. Oh no!
So, I think that was like came out with the Karate Kid. Never say never. So no, but I think
didn't want that confirmed.
I think it'd be a major money bag though as well. Like just imagine,
this is what they would do with it. Think of all the Batman possibilities and nothing else.
Yeah, Batman just shows up and like kicks Thanos and it's done. Like, I think that would be like amazing.
Yeah.
But like it would also help DC kind of get their act together a wee bit. Helping both
they need the help.
Yeah, I think their next couple of films seem pretty alright. Like their Flash film is going to have fucking 2, potentially 3 Batman in it. Batman.
Okay.
Like bringing back Michael Keaton's Batman is unreal.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, I think people are saying he's substantially in it, but about the crossover, yeah, I was like, there's press. Like, I don't think it's happened. It hasn't happened since the late 90s, but
Comics, yeah.
or early 90s. But it's kind of thing when it comes to film things, like they're already working with Sony. I think it's probably that bit easier to do, like probably potentially easier rights wise to do it with. Like, I don't know, I guess it comes down to Disney or Warner Bros. Not wanting to. I don't know. If I was Disney, I'd give them 10 years of, like, if they're in a good shape by then, yeah, whatever. But they could still make any film good, like.
Yeah.
Inevitably, Disney are going to buy DC, and then it's just, oh god, shit's going to hit the fan at that point.
What is that?
Everything's going to explode. No, that's just me. That's just me saying.
Oh, thank God! I was like,
it's
is
inevitable.
That
no, that's the news we were taking off of today. It wasn't important. Never mind.
If Disney do that, they own everything. Yeah. Everything will just become standardized.
Infinity Gauntlet.
Exactly.
But DC Comics, like, if I'm correct, I could be wrong here, but I think they were actually in, like, even till recent, like, they laid off a load of staff last year.
They were.
And like, where they were going to scale them back all their books. I think I even heard rumors that, like, the company could be like, here, we're not making money. We're thinking, like, it could be sold. But did DC move to a new kind of, like, company, if you know what I mean, like the way Disney owned Marvel? Did AT&T or Warner Brothers, or some change there?
I don't remember, maybe.
Oh, there was like I don't know. Did AT&T merge everything just to be AT&T now, and they just control everything?
Yeah.
So even like Warner Media is different, but if they even if AT&T don't like what they're saying, they can just say no, do what we wanted to. So it's kind of like, I think actually AT&T might actually want to sell them. I think that was the whole point. Was it not like they were like, okay, we're happy to sell Warner Media to Disney if they want it or whatever.
Yeah, I guess there's some kind of, like, monopoly rules where they can't have everything, and then you can see then too that, like, if someone just has a bad time with Disney, like especially with Scarlett Johansson and thing, like, they've come out saying they've cut all ties with her. Like, if they just keep buying companies, she could be in trouble.
Oh God!
I hope not. I kind of like. I know people might have criticisms about. I know some, not to get political, but, like, at the end of the day, she's a person going against a company, and, like, it's so strange to see people. Oh, she's made a lot of money already. Like, what she want? Like, you're defending a giant a giant company. You know, there's a difference there of, like, going, who do you want to see succeed? Yeah, it'd be, look, I'd love it. See Spider-Man kick Batman's ass.
Yeah.
I would just love that as well. I'd be happy. I'm like, okay.
I think we need to meet in the middle and have it be Who Framed Roger Rabbit 2. But this time, instead of Daffy Duck and Donald Duck, it's just Batman and Spider-Man.
That'd be great.
Piano. Yeah.
But
speaking of Disney Plus and getting away from Marvel and comics, because it's just I'm comicked out, guys. We're getting Mandalorian season 3, and it's starting in September. The filming, at least.
See, the risky bit of that. What is there still left to do with Mando? Like, because the whole story was the kind of dual element.
Oh yeah,
I think it's just
is that lost? Because I don't think Boba's going to be there.
Well, he's going to be doing his own thing now with the book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, so is it just going to be back to the way? This is the way.
This is the way. Yeah, it's going to be better the way. Because I'm trying to think of where it kind of left off, and also what kind of. It's because I watched it all when it just came out, and we've touched on it since. I'm assuming we're just going to get more. We're just going to get a lot more fan service, I think. Whether that be characters or locations or just kind of events.
Yeah.
So, remind me again, this is all before the First Order, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think this is right after...
this is right after Return, isn't it?
The Jedi, so it's in between.
So I think we'll start getting some stuff in the new trilogy.
I hope we get something to do like with Thrawn. He's like a kind of deep dive.
They mentioned that was one of the big kind of reveals in one of the episodes with Ahsoka.
Yeah, but
exactly. She was looking for Thrawn.
Is
Mm-hmm.
he cast?
I think so.
I think I heard that recently.
Oh,
they've definitely confirmed that he's in it because they obviously did it in the show. Can't remember if they've cast him yet.
Well, it's not the voice actor from one of the shows or something, is it?
Maybe.
I'm not. I guess I spend too much time on nerd sites, but I'm across things. But I'm not like really. I don't have a very strong connection to Star Wars. I watch I really like Mandalorian, but I think they kind of have to give him, because was Tron not kind of something for Rosario Dawson's character to deal with?
Yeah, Ahsoka.
Yeah. So, like, I'm not sure what his motivation is going to be now. Just, I'm going to be about
I'm just because he's like a total badass Clint Eastwood character. I'm happy for him just to go about his way, the way.
To town to town, like that kind of old Western shows.
Yeah, like have that kind of lone gunman situation, because the character's interesting enough, and you could almost go because I don't think he doesn't have Grogu now, does he?
No,
Luke has him.
Yeah, Luke has him now. So
it
could become more of like a mercenary again, as opposed to like a father figure.
Yeah,
or like a protector. It could just go back to that kind of bounty hunting ways, or come out further from it.
I'm sure they'd have another reason for him to, like, I think as someone like, especially me watching it, who doesn't know like anything, like, but he's an original character for the show, isn't he?
I think
the Mandalorian.
To get the rights of it, he was a completely new character.
Yeah.
So
open. The show didn't really seem to. I don't know, like, did it leave any strings in the last series that give him specifically something to do?
Not specifically him, but it was more so the side characters, which was, now that you put it, that was kind of weird, because Boba kind of got his thing with Jabba's palace, and Ahsoka is going to go get Thrawn now, and I think of a bunch of their characters are just they were kind of just like going the wrong way, and a lot of them are getting their own show now as well. But yeah, it's kind of, I can't really remember how it ended with him.
It ended with the black saber, and I know that connects to the Mandalorian lore. I'm trying to remember the actual Bo-Katan. So she was supposed to reclaim Mandalore, I believe so, where it was all the Mandalorians come from. So, and I think she needs a black saber to prove that. And and I remember Mando actually he won the black saber, and you can't win it by just giving it to somebody. So that might be the kind of crux of it. I doubt it, because he just wanted to give it to her. He didn't want to fight her.
I mean, they could have just settled it over a thumb war.
They could have, yeah, exactly. And he would let her win, like, just there you go, take it. So it's kind of it might jump down that road. I don't, because Bo-Katan was I didn't really watch Rebels as much, but I think she was mostly in Clone Wars. I don't know if she was in Rebels, but
recognizable at least in like the actress that was cast for her. Like, she was in, what was she in, Battlestar Galactica, I think. I may be totally wrong on that. She was in a kind of older sci-fi series, and like, she's a badass in it. So they cast her perfectly for that.
Wasn't she the voice actor for the character in one of the series?
Maybe.
No. They wanted it because I think in the Clone Wars it was like kind of the same age. She would be the same age as her character would be. I think she was kind of the exact same, because they modelled it off the actual voice actor, I think, and that might be wrong. So
no, I'm like, especially the Star Wars series stuff. Like, I haven't really have I haven't seen any of the. Well, I think I've seen the latest new Star Wars, the first one of the new trilogy, but like, I'm not, Star Wars isn't really I like the toys when I was a kid, but.
You should definitely give the Clone Wars a shot. Like, see, like the last couple of, like the beginning, and like especially the last season. Oh man,
The only issue is that there's a whole like chronological issue where
nothing's
the episodes are all out of sync, so you have to have like an actual
reading list or watching list.
That was like a goddamn 6 months on my phone with like a page that was just the Clone Wars like watch list. I was just like, I need to go through this.
Yeah, I just did that for the X-Men animated show. Like they're kind of out of order on Disney Plus, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I think off the top of my head, I'm thinking like we go towards the most recent trilogy and start bringing in characters from that. Maybe we might see Snoke get some actual origin story for him. A very large push, but
I really do. I want to stay away from this.
It's Mace Windu, guys.
Exactly. Go backwards. It's far
what
away.
What happened to Jar Jar?
Exactly. I think you could dive into the more like the comic side of it,
absolutely,
the
yeah.
canon. Like I don't know if it's the official canon because Thrawn, he wasn't actually.
Some of it is, yeah.
He wasn't in the. He was just like he was made in the comics, so you could dive into.
He was in the Rebel series.
Yeah, he was in it, but I think he was a lot like he brought into from canon from like the Golden Books or something. I can't remember what they're called. But like you could go down the whole route of like Darth Raven. He's a very popular character within like the comic world.
Darth Raven.
I think he's just
Raven,
called Raven. No.
Raven,
yeah.
Raven.
Yeah, like, he's kind of like Darth Vader in the sense that he's got a mask.
Do you mean Raven?
Raven. Oh God, yes, Raven.
Yeah, Raven's like Old Republic, so like, that's centuries ago. He's not even a thing anymore. I'd
Oh,
love to see it, but
fuck it, yeah, he is. He's gone. Fuck no.
That's way before.
Well, you could try and
I mean, they couldn't kill off Darth Maul, so may as well.
Yeah, no. So it's like you could go down to all these kind of because like see when you were mentioning the mercenary missions you were in, they were fun. When it was like breaking guys out of jail and stuff like that.
Oh, did Bill Burr's character die off?
No.
I don't think so.
Oh, bring him back then.
Bostonians of the galaxy.
Yeah.
Jesus. Get that out of my face, Mando!
I'm sure later than shit.
Oh, brilliant! I love how he doesn't care about Star Wars at all.
That's how he got the role as well. Like he like ranted about it on stage, about like how shit Star Wars was because he missed it the first time it was out, and that's how he got the role. Just went, fuck you, universe now.
He was saying about a friend of his loves all that, like, and he doesn't. He's like, he takes the piss out of him. Then in the same time, the roles are reversed. His same friend who's into all the nerdy shit was like, I don't know, met some baseball player that like fucking Bird's obsessed with, and he's like,
I thought as well, like there's a lot, like there was a bunch of side characters, more so on the antagonist side, that I don't think had like a big finale. There was like the kind of prison escape episodes. I don't know if we ever really seen those characters come back, except from Bill Burr.
Who was the other one? He's a famous voice actor.
Richard A. Waddy. Maybe.
No, Clancy Brown, is it? Or is Clancy Brown not his name? Something Brown. The guy who with the big horn head guy.
Yeah.
Who looked like in my head it was like, it looks like a Buffy character, but I guess it probably looked more like a Star Trek one.
The Twi'lek or the Twi'lek. Yeah. I know all my goddamn Star Wars races.
Oh, you know the race of the character?
Oh, yeah, Twi'lek.
I guess it's funny because like I'm just so bet into Marvel and stuff that I'm like to actually talk to people who are like that much like know all the little bits of Star Wars.
Is my jam. Yeah.
They were like I think they were kind of using Mandalorian as a lot of that second season seemed to be like, okay, this is like this pilot season in this show. Like no, I don't think in a bad way really, like, but it's kind of obvious.
Again, with no malice, like it was an incredible show. Like I will have to revisit at some point to watch it all the way through without the breaks. I'm just like, I just want more of it. It's the same as the Alien thing. Like more Star Wars for me is good Star Wars. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
And the Mandalorian just stepped in the right direction. Dan said it's probably like the best piece of Star Wars like medium that's been created because of how well made it is.
Yeah.
And I have full faith in him that they'll give us loads of fan service. They'll give us new stuff as well. Like, I can't wait.
Yeah, I don't feel like...
I imagine it'll be sometime late next year that we actually start to see it.
Yeah.
To wait.
Is Fellaini and Jon Favreau still on it? Are they still the owners of it?
Pretty sure, and they've got a bunch of different directors involved with it. I don't know if Taika Waititi's coming back for it.
Oh, so.
Bryce Dallas Howard was doing it too, wasn't she?
I think so. Yeah.
Am I confusing it with someone else?
Yeah,
like honestly, I haven't played with the toys, watched bits of the films as a kid, but like when I was, I don't know, my mid-20s, I went to try and watch. Like, right, I'm going to watch the Star Wars as an adult, and I'll know what they're like. And I watched the first one, I was like, the fucking action is so bad, I can't watch this. The design's really cool. Every character looks very specific and kind of authentic in their own way. It's kind of like,
you have to at least get to Revenge of the Sith, and then you're in the you're in the go part.
Revenge of the Sith is
sports. That's the first one.
Oh, you mean that's the first one chronologically? Episode 1.
Chronologically, yeah. Aye.
Oh, I know. You're gonna hate me for this. I mean, like OG Star Wars.
Yeah.
You do not mean the New Hope. Oh no!
I was like, and I gotta watch it again. I love the design, but I was like, this action is fucking painful.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't watching the next two. I was like, I'll try it.
Cut corners. It's like understandable and like commendable, but yeah, it doesn't hold up.
The set design I think is fantastic, and like the character design is amazing. But I was just like, oh god, it's so boring. It's like watching a fucking educational documentary or something about space people.
Yeah.
But Mandalorian, I had so much fun with that.
It's a total different spectrum, yeah.
I'm very easy to like. I love the novelty of things. So like Halloween, I try and watch as much horror films as I can, even though they terrify me. Fucking Star Wars, like I think even I was trying to track down the exact music that they used in that Solo trailer, because it's like it builds to the Star Wars theme, but it takes a while to get there.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like
it's the little details for you.
Yeah, but the music, like, so I can.
Oh,
yeah, sorry, I'm just rambling now, but
no.
Yeah, the Mandalorian score, amazing. I've listened to that so many hours of that at this stage.
Well, I think that's all we have time for tonight, guys.
Yeah,
beautiful.
It's a nice long 2-hour one. We had a lot to discuss.
Good stuff. Yeah, I clocked my phone there, like, whoa.
Yeah, sorry, behind the scenes story this took a while today, but we got there in the end. And actually, yeah,
we did.
We've made it work. We got everything we needed to say. So,
we did.
Without further ado. No, sorry, not without further ado. There's some other announcements to say. Yeah.
Oh.
I say announcements. It's just more routine shit I need to do. So yeah, please, if you enjoyed this podcast and you want to listen to more, there's 23 episodes before this with a varying cast. They're always fun. You can get into this. We're all different characters and such. Yeah. We've got 2 new characters now today. Yeah. Hopefully see them more so. They did great today.
We will do.
So, social media stuff. You can find us on Facebook at the BGCP Comic Con. I always think I'd pick it up. You can find us on Instagram, BGCP Comic Con. Mass is so much better than this. YouTube. You can find us here. You can find us out on Spotify. If you want just an audio form. Yeah. So, with all that, let us know what you thought for the initial discussion point, all the different news coming out. Please let us know your opinions, what you want to see next for discussion points. And without further ado, thank you, Jerd. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. It's been an honour.
Like, guys, it's great fun.
And without that,
see you later.
Thank you for listening to Disassembled. You can find more news and reviews on BigGlasgowComicPage.com. And don't forget, you can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube as BGCP Comic Con. Make sure you also subscribe on your podcast provider of choice for new episodes every week.